All right, welcome back to the Friday Show. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Paulick. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot to look forward to, Ray, this summer with racing, but we're not quite ready to leave the Triple Crown behind. After all, it did take 37 years to get here. In fact, some comments this week about it being a little bittersweet. That historical anticipation won't be there next year, so marketing the Triple Crown could be very different. Are you a little sad to not have that element?
I'm not sad about American Pharoah winning the crown. In fact, just the opposite. I'm glad he finally broke through and did something that a lot of people said would never happen again. So many horses have come close since affirmed in 1978. He finally did it. It's going to be more difficult to market next year, but he proved that it can be done. And you know that part of it's over. Let's move on.
Well, we're going to have to come up with some new ideas because NBC Sports and the industry leading up to the Triple Crown next year won't have that. It's been 34 years. It's been 35 years. It's kind of like the Red Sox in baseball when they won the World Series in 2004 after almost 100 years of futility, all the collapses and failures. The same thing happened in racing with the Triple Crown. You had all those near misses and failures, which fed the legend and built up until finally it happened and there was a huge celebration. But then the Red Sox won the World Series 3 years later, and then they won it again, and it's not quite the same.
Right. I mean, the same thing is going to happen next year in baseball when the Cubs win the World Series. Everybody will know that it's been 108 years since they won their last World Series. They won back-to-back in 1907 and 1908, by the way. But when they win it the year after, you know, it's going to be no big deal. And then they win it a few years later. It's going to be the Chicago Cubs are a dynasty. We'll be talking about that instead of, you don't think
yeah, just stop. Just stop. But I am happy for you as a Cubs fan that you still have that hope and anticipation. But let us know if you have any ideas on marketing the Triple Crown going forward in our comments section. Another issue that people have been talking about is American Pharoah in a historical context. People wanted to make those comparisons 5 hours after the race, but it's really not fair to do that. So how do we measure American Pharoah going forward?
Well, I like the comment that somebody made when they said you start to measure a horse's place in history when he's done making it. And he's not done making history. He just won the Triple Crown. I think he fits in with a lot of the previous Triple Crown winners, which is a place that's usually reserved for greatness. There's been a few horses that their career records weren't all that good, but he's only lost his first start. He's won every race since then. But what next? To me, the horse has to run against older horses to prove his greatness. You know, the Breeders' Cup Classic is obviously a race he needs to go into. We're not going to see him run as a 4-year-old, so I say let's condense an older horse challenge into the second half of 2015. Skip the Haskell. That's a gimme. That's a gimme. He's proven that he's the best 3-year-old. What more do we want to see?
It's boring. It's boring. I mean, I don't want to see him run around the track in a circle, you know, in a jog, because that's what that will be. I agree. I mean, Del Mar reportedly is putting something together, possibly a $5 million bonus for winning the Pacific Classic, a race at Santa Anita, probably the Awesome Again, I'm thinking, and then the Breeders' Cup Classic. To me, that would be a challenge. That would really elevate American Pharoah historically, and I think he could do something like that and win those 3 races. When you think about Secretariat, he raced 6 times after the Triple Crown and lost 2 of those races. So to me, it's not necessarily about winning and losing. It's about putting yourself in position to face up to a challenge. And Secretariat did that, racing 6 times, even though he lost twice. And that really didn't ding his value. I think sometimes these owners and breeders are too worried about a ding in the value rather than being sportsmen and going against the best.
Yeah, they go from being sportsmen to being asset managers. That's basically what they're now doing. They want to find the easiest spots to manage the asset value they have and not let it lose any value, possibly increase a little bit. He can increase it by beating older horses. You know, this is what he needs to do, not beat up on the same bunch that he's been running against.
What do you think? Go to our website, PaulickReport.com, and take our poll on the homepage. Should American Pharoah race against older horses in his next start? That's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.